Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk about what you can do with your kids this summer right here in Hampton Roads, whether it's a staycation, whether you work flexible hours and have Fridays off, but all of the fun and relatively inexpensive things that we can do with our kids. My guest is Alvean Lyons from Healthy Families. Welcome.
Thanks, Robin.
This is the best place to have a staycation. Millions of people choose Hampton Roads for their vacation and pay to stay in a hotel, and we can stay home for free and do a lot of stuff.
And have a great time.
Yeah.
That's exactly true. And, you know, at Healthy Families, we're always talking about the things that you can do with your families that don't require a lot, that really have incredible yields, you know, to give you a chance to connect with each other, have a good time together. But right here in Hampton, in our Hampton Roads area, there are tons of things that we could potentially do. But when we're thinking about those things as parents, how do we make the most of them?
Right.
How do we plan the right kinds of things for our kids? What do we have to be mindful of? So I'm going to give us a few alphabet letters that will help us be, you know, on top of how to do this right.
Okay.
So the first thing is A. We need to make sure that whatever we decide to do, it's age appropriate for our kids. If you're going to enjoy yourselves, you want to make sure that you pick something that works for the ages and stages of your kids. If you have teenagers, you don't want to pick something that is really designed for elementary or younger kids because they're going to disengage. And then, you know, something that could have been really lovely kind of deteriorates into a stressful experience because you're kind of fussing at them, that they're bored and that they have issues, and you know, you really thought that you did a great job planning something. So it kind of falls apart at the seams when we don't think through what are our kids going to be able to experience based on the ages that they're actually at. And when our little people are really small, that age factor is huge in terms of them not falling apart into tears. And you know, if you have little ones, you know exactly what we're talking about. I mean, it really can be rough on moms and dads, for that matter, when our kids are it's just outside of what it is that they can handle. It's developmentally not at their level. So choosing age-appropriate activities is super important. So then we move to B, which is deeply connected to A. The age appropriateness really determines two things where B is concerned, both the behavior and the buy-in. The behaviors that we want, obviously, we want our kids to be engaged. We want them to have a good time. We want to make sure that nobody's crying. We want to make sure that nobody's bored. We want to make sure that nobody's pouting. You know, there are certain things that we just do not want to see when we're supposed to be having a good time together. But the only way to ensure that that happens is to make sure that we make the right decisions up front. Those behavior factors are deeply connected to how good a job we did choosing the activity that we're going to participate in. And then the secondary thing, the buy-in. As your kids get older, buy-in becomes more and more important.
Right.
We want them to be excited about the thing that we're about to do. You know, not too far from here, we have Great Wolf Lodge, for instance. And all of the kids get excited about the idea of being able to, you know, water parks and this, that, and the other. And that sounds fantastic. But we also have incredible museums here in our local area in Hampton that are incredibly educational. They change, you know, themes on a regular basis. So the kids get to really experience information that they would not before, but what is appropriate based on the age of your kids.
Right.
You know, you want to make sure that I'm not taking a 3-year-old to something that I really should be taking a 13-year-old to, so that, you know, that we don't have some of those issues.
Or you just have really different expectations for what they're going to get out of it. You know, I've taken little kids to museums and tried to read the plaques on the walls. Right. It doesn't work.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
But the older kids can, or maybe they can read it out loud. Or, you know, while the young one just sort of looks at stuff and they still get something from it, but it's hard. And I always try to make the kids slow down, like, I want to read. So I have to realize it can't just be what experience I want.
Right. But the experience
but it has to be, it has to be about them. And that means I get to skip some parts that I think are really cool to focus on their need to move quicker or whatever it is.
It's true. And we're going to have to adjust. And a lot of times whenever you're doing a vacation or a staycation, there are a lot of adjustments that are part of that process. And we've got to be prepared for that up front. It really lends itself to us having a more positive experience. Because as we start to get frustrated, we respond differently.
Right.
And it takes the air right out of the room. It sucks the fun right out of the experience when now it becomes a disciplinary thing because I'm trying to manage your behaviors because we don't have that buy-in because it was not age appropriate in the first place. It becomes a downward spiral, and we don't want to sabotage something that could be really positive by virtue of really not planning it well in the first place. So that A for age appropriateness really affects those B's, both your behaviors, and it's going to affect your buy-in. And then you made a great point, which goes to our C, comprehension. When we try to choose things that are educational, which are great, you want to make sure that your kids can comprehend what it is that they are experiencing. Does it make sense to them? Right. You know, there are certain things that are just above their comprehension levels. So if I'm looking at something that is quite historic, for a small child, they don't necessarily even grasp time yet. So history is a little harder for them to process than something that is just, here's a really great activity, the Air and Space Museum, for instance, right here in Hampton. You know, you'd be surprised how small your kids can be and still really enjoy that because they get to see the big planes and they get to experience some of the little science activities that you can do sometimes.
They always have those hands-on exhibits.
It's true. So it really becomes one of those environments where you can do a really good span of age and still keep both sets of kids engaged in the process. So it's both fun and it's educational, and you have the opportunity for the comprehension to really be present. It adds for that buy-in, which gets you the better behavior. So the Air and Space Museum is a perfect example of something that you can do very inexpensively as a family and have a great time despite the fact that you may have a varying set of ages where your kids are concerned. So that takes us through our B's and into our C's in terms of the comprehension piece. Then we get to the D. Kids do their very best when they are doing. If we choose things that allow them to be involved in the process, so it's developmentally appropriate, it's age appropriate, but that behavior gets better because I'm doing something that I find interesting.
Yes.
So that could be something as simple as going to the beach. We underestimate how wonderful a beach trip can be.
We don't. I mean, I think it's the coolest thing ever. I try to go at least once a week. It is one of the key factors here, and we have great beaches.
It's
like
true.
Before kids, I used to go to Grandview because I could hike out there. I was minimal. I didn't have that much to carry. I liked the nature and the peace, and then all of a sudden you have kids and you're like, oh no, I've got to schlep too much stuff. And they call it Outlook Beach at Fort Monroe is like perfect because of those jetties they built. You can walk for a really long time, and even on a toddler, they're not underwater. And the waves are more gentle because of the jetties, you know, and then you graduate to Buckrow or go over to Virginia Beach if, you know, you want to try to do body surfing and things like that. I mean, there's a whole range of opportunities right here.
That is exactly right. And the reality is it's free. You know, because all of us, you know, are mindful of cost-sensitive things.
Yes.
You know, so it's completely free. You can make your lunch from home or bring your snacks from home. So you don't even have to deal with that kind of stuff. You get your cooler for all of $5 if you need to do that, if you don't already have one. Pack that full of ice, and you could spend hours out there with the kids just because playing in the sand is fun.
I was going to say, sometimes it's just the sand. The little ones may not even go much into the water.
And it's true because as moms, of course, if you have small ones, the water can be a little bit of a stressful thought. But the sand for the kids alone is exciting. And even if they get to walk just along the edge of the water and feel the water just come up on their toes, it is both a learning experience for them because their brains are processing all kinds of things in terms of sensation and how water responds to the body, I mean, you'd be amazed how many little things you can just learn at the beach. And then the animals, what animals will you see at the beach? The birds, how they eat. I mean, you can have all kinds. You could have school at the beach.
Right, it's still educational.
It really is. You can make it so creative. There's so many things that we can do without it really having to cost us much of anything. You don't have to drive far, and your kids feel like they had this experience that took them away from home altogether. You know, that feels like summer, but they get to do stuff while they're there.
It's really important. Like the History Museum has a second Saturday family of activity, and it focuses on a period in history, and it could be colonial, it could be Native American, it could be the 1960s, but they do something, they talk about it, it's just, and it's free, it's just this little snippet. And then, you know, you can pay to go into the museum, which also, it has a lot of things that relate to different ages. You know, you go into this part where Hampton was burned during the Civil War, and it kind of feels like that, or a tobacco ship, you know. You get the sensation, and you don't have to read everything if you're little. But you get enough of a feeling to know a little bit about what it was like.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's right here.
Yep.
You know, we can't stress harder the fact that it's right here. A lot of times you're so busy working, we're so busy living, that we kind of forget all of the rich stuff that is surrounding us. You know, we are surrounded by water. We are surrounded by educational opportunities. We are surrounded by engaging things. I mean, like, there is so much that is right here in our area that, as you pointed out previously, other people travel just to come have these experiences. We have them right here at home. So you don't have to go someplace else to be able to experience some really wonderful things and create some fantastic memories. Because obviously, you know, at Healthy Families, we're focused on rich ways in which we can experience connecting and reconnecting and plugging in deeper with our families, ways in which we find new things to communicate and talk about. Some of those activities you were just talking about are great lead-ins to good conversation. You know, that we can laugh about something. We could say, hey, did you know, Mommy had no idea. Daddy told me so. You know, like, your grandpa, you actually fought in such and such. You know, like, just there's so many conversations that these experiences can stimulate, you know, that really are great for our ability to connect with each other.
Yeah, and you can use, for older kids, you can let them use their smartphone or whatever their device is. And you're there in, Fort Monroe, I think, is one of my favorites. And it is completely free. You're in the casemate, and you're thinking, people lived in here. People lived inside these stone walls. You know, you talk about cannons. Let them look something up. Tell me the story of, you know, when Jefferson Davis was imprisoned here, when people helped build it, and all those kinds of things. And the little kids might just be like, oh, look at the gray Civil War uniforms, how stiff and starch and different those are. But they feel it's like, you know, being in a cave. I mean, it is a cool thing inside there, and it is literally cool. It can be 100 degrees outside, and you're inside the casemate, and it feels completely different.
It's true. I mean, there's just such rich opportunities that exist that we can't waste them. You know, if you're not going to go away inside of our own communities. You know, use these opportunities to be able to learn things, because there's a difference between what your kids read versus what they experience. And if you can make some of that stuff come to life for them, it's relevant in a whole different way when they go back to school and when they're reading about these things that may not even be stuff that's going on here in our area that they were able to access, but the idea that what I'm reading really has a real construct, that there really are, you know, places where this stuff comes to life because I've seen it myself during the summertime. I see how these words become real things. So being able to build those bridges for our kids are fantastic on so many different levels. You know, never underestimating just the value of being able to have experiences together as a family. We've got to expose our kids to things because it really enlarges their imaginations and it enlarges their exposure, and ultimately it really adds to the backdrop for the success that we want for our kids. Those experiences can be absolutely fantastic. So we want families to really enjoy, you know, the staycation in Hampton Roads. You know, if you're not going to go away, enjoy what it is that we have here and know how many good things it's doing for you and your families.
You can tie some, I'm so excited now. I'm thinking, not like the Algernon Oak at Fort Monroe, and you talk about how Pocahontas, this tree was here when Pocahontas was here, and it's still here.
And you've seen the movies in Disney. This is real,
yeah, or the Emancipation Oak, and talk about how, Mary Pete gathered African Americans to teach them when it was illegal.
Absolutely.
And after many of them were semi-freed at least and became the contrabands, and how that school grew. I mean, there's just so much, and you can do it in little bits at a time. Sometimes in a vacation, you're cramming everything in, and you're packing those days, and everybody's tired and cranky by the end of the day. But if you can, pack a Saturday picnic and go sit under one of those amazing trees and talk about the science, talk about the history, and just have a lovely picnic in the shade, you're getting stuff done.
And you're enjoying each other at the same time. And that's the beauty of it all. That not only are you learning things, not only are you expanding your worldview, but you're really getting a chance to have some good time with your family. And that stuff is just so valuable. So the idea of being able to bridge those things together right here in our area for virtually nothing for a lot of these activities, there's no reason why you can't have an amazing summer just by virtue of the fact that you're a Hampton resident.
Absolutely.
And we've got good stuff for you around here.
We do. And I'm going to put in a plug for keeping kids reading during the summer. I think it's one of the most crucial things when they go back to school in the fall, that they have kept up or increased their ability and their habit of reading. And the libraries have free programs, they have magic and science and activities, but also little rewards for reading. Books are free. People forget that, You can still check out books for free at the library, and it's a huge resource.
And to your point about the books, you can go anywhere you want in your imagination through a book. There are no limits where that's concerned. And I'll put a math plug in. Have your kids do the math in the grocery stores.
Right.
So that part of their brain stays alert. We're going to pick this up for $2.45, and then we're going to buy this for $1. What is that? That's $3.45. Simple little things like that. Just those little things. Just keep that part of your brain active and stimulated. And it's the things that we do during the summertime that really either give our kids a jump forward in the fall, or we find ourselves kind of trudging through mud come fall time. There are great opportunities for us to be able to make wonderful things happen for our kids, depending upon what we do with our summers. So we really encourage families, particularly over here at Healthy Families, we encourage families on a regular basis, grow together. If you're not growing through one of the classes that we offer, then make sure that you're doing things together as a family as a whole, because principally, all we care about is that every family gets stronger and stronger every opportunity that they get.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, I'm ready for my staycation, because actually that is what I'm doing this summer. It's a staycation summer. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Robin.
And thank you for watching. I hope if you are having a staycation summer, you can find great things to do with your kids for free. Or if you are maybe hosting the family that comes in and taking them to all the wonderful attractions in Hampton and in the region around us, you can appreciate with your family the great resources we have here. Thanks for watching.